Okay, today we are working on 4-digit subtraction. Okay, we are going to follow the same steps as in 2-digit and 3-digit. First thing is to always start in the ones place. Okay, remember the larger number always needs to be on top. In order to subtract, right, each digit, the larger number needs to be on top. So 9 minus 4, 9 is the larger digit. We can subtract without borrowing. 9 minus 4 is 5. 2 minus 0 in the tens place. Can we do it? Yes, the 2 is larger. 2 minus 0 is still 2. Okay, in the hundreds place, we have 1 minus 2. Okay, we can't do 1 minus 2. If you only have one cookie, you can't take 2 of them. There's only one. So that one needs to borrow from the thousands place. The 4 is going to be a 3 because we're taking 1 from it. And we're adding that 1,000 in front of the 1 to make it an 11. Now we can subtract. 11 minus 2 is 9. Don't forget the comma to bring the comma down. And 3 minus 3 is 0. So your answer would actually just be 925. You don't need to include that 0 before it. Let's try another one. Okay, we're starting with 8 minus 9. Okay, we can't do 8 minus 9. If I only have 8 cookies, you cannot take 9 from me. I only have 8. So the 8 needs to borrow from the 2. The 2 becomes a 1. And that 1 goes in front of the 8 to make 18. 18 minus 9 I can do. 18 minus 9 is 9. Okay, but now we have 1 minus 2 in the tens place. We cannot do 1 minus 2. If I only have one cookie, you cannot take 2 from me. The top number always needs to be larger, so now we need to borrow from the 5. The 5 is going to become a 4, and the 1 is going to become an 11. Put the 10 in front of it, the 1 in front of it. 11 minus 2 is 9. 4 minus 2 is 2. Bring that comma down. And 8 minus 3 is 5. Okay, let's try a few more. Okay, the next ones we're going to try are subtracting across zeros. In this case, it gets a little harder because now you have 3 zeros instead of 2 when we were doing it with the hundreds place. Okay, so we're going to start in the ones place. You cannot take 4 things if you don't have anything to take, right? A 0, there's nothing there. You can't take 4 away from it. So we need to borrow. This 0 is going to try to borrow from this 0, but there's nothing there either. So now it's going to have to go to the next place value. There's nothing there either. So now this 0 in the hundreds place is borrowing from this 2. It's going to take 1 from the 2, and it's going to become a 10. But now we can do 10 minus 2, but we're not going to because we always start in the ones place. But the ones place still has 0. So now this 0 right next to it has to borrow from the 10. The 10 is going to become a 9, and this 0 is going to become a 10. Okay. We still can't start subtracting because we need to start in the ones place. So finally, now that the tens place has some digits in it, we can borrow for the ones place. This 10 is going to become a 9, and this 0 is going to become a 10. Now we can subtract. 10 minus 4 is 6. 9 minus 3 is 6. 9 minus 2 is 7. Bring that comma. We don't need it because 1 minus 1 is 0, so we don't need the comma. So your answer would be 766. Let's try one more across the zeros. Okay, again, there's 3 zeros. We know we're not going to be able to subtract. We're going to have to do a lot of borrowing. This 0 would borrow from the tens, but there is nothing. So the tens need to borrow from the hundreds. Again, there is nothing. So now the hundreds need to borrow from the thousands. The thousands is going to become a 5. We're taking a thousands block from it. We're taking that 1 block and we're putting it in front of the 0 to make 10. Okay, but we need to start at that 1, so we need to keep borrowing. Now the tens place can borrow from the hundreds place. It's going to make that 10 a 9. And this 0 is going to be a 10. And finally, now the ones place can borrow from the tens place. It's going to make it a 9, and this will be a 10. Now we can subtract. 10 minus 9 is 1. 9 minus 2 is 7. 9 minus 1 is 8. Now we're going to bring that comma. 5 minus 2 is 3. All right, we've got 2 more examples to do. In these examples, you have a 4-digit minus a 2-digit. Okay, notice how I lined up the ones place and the tens place, right? In the number 34, the 30, the 3 is in the tens place and the 4 is in the ones. In 2181, the 8 is in the tens place and the 1 is in the ones place. So you need to line up those ones place and the tens place. The 3 in the tens place should not be at the thousands, or the 3 should not be at the hundreds. It needs to line up with the same place value. So let's try this one. 1 minus 4, I can't do that. Again, if I only have 1 cookie, you cannot take 4 from me. I only have 1. So the 1 is going to borrow from the 8. It's going to make it a 7. Now this 1 becomes an 11. Okay, the 1 you took goes in front of this one, becomes an 11. 11 minus 4 is 7. Okay, 7 minus 3 is, 7 minus 3 is 4. And now you just bring down the 1 and the 2. And don't forget the comma. All right. Last one. Okay, 8,115 minus 129. Again, remember, we lined up the ones place, the tens place, and the hundreds place. 129. The 1 is in a hundreds place. It shouldn't be under the thousands place. It needs to line up with the correct place value. 5 minus 9, we cannot do that. So the 5 needs to borrow from the 1 and make it a 0. Now this 5 is a 15. Okay, 15 minus 9 is 6. But now we have 0 minus 2, and we can't do that. So now this 0 in the tens place is going to borrow from the hundreds place. It's going to make the hundreds place a 0, and that 0 is going to turn into a 10. Right? The 1 you took from the hundreds place goes in front of the 0. 10 minus 2 is 8. Okay, again in the hundreds place, now we have to borrow again because we cannot do 0 minus 1. It's going to borrow from the thousands place, make it a 7, and put the 1 you took in front of the 0. 10 minus 1 is 9. We're going to need to bring that comma down. 7 minus nothing, or we know there's a 0 there. 7 minus 0 is 7.